So good day to every one of you who is viewing us through all social media platforms. So today is the first day that we are unveiling our brand new boardroom sessions. This exercise is to unveil and emphasize the e-commerce digitalization in the digital economy. So today we have Mr. Deepthi Lokuarachchi, the Group Chief Executive Officer of Lanka Hospitals. So we warmly welcome you, sir.
Thank you very much.
So we want to discuss how is the healthcare industry is being transformed with the help of digitalization and the help of e-commerce, and how it has influenced the market to grow in this digital economy.
Well, when we talk about e-commerce and digitalization, these are two aspects that's actually that any business needs to embrace in today's context, because the world is actually moving towards e-commerce transactions, online transactions, and at the same time, digitalization is a key aspect in the e-commerce facilitation in the conduct of business.
Absolutely.
So these two aspects, when you combine together, e-commerce together with digitalization, this needs to go into the roots of any business that we are in. So in that context, I must tell you that we are in the healthcare sector, we are in the healthcare business, and digitalization becomes a platform for us to actually improve on the offerings to the people.
Right.
So therefore, in that context, when we talk about our dealings with the end consumers as well as with the back-end suppliers, there are various means, there are various ways and means by which we can actually approach our transactions. So
Right.
when we do approach our transactions, we need to look at achieving efficiency levels, creating customer convenience, and also maintaining the highest standard of care for people who expect our services. So in that context, I think digitalization, e-commerce becomes very important in meeting the consumer needs in today's context.
Right. Okay. So alone in the US, the growth and the market space when it comes to the e-commerce healthcare industry, it's over 4 trillion. How is Sri Lanka coming into this context? How do you think, how do you feel as the CEO of Lanka Hospitals? How are we adapting, and how is the market growing in Sri Lanka?
Actually speaking, our market that's predicted, e-commerce market that's predicted for 2023 is almost around 2.3 million US dollars on the e-commerce business.
All right.
It is not significant when you compare the numbers with that of a developed economy or economy that embraces technology.
Absolutely.
In trying to offer services to the general public.
Absolutely.
So the point is that between now and between the targeted point, there is a whole gamut of things that we need to do in order to drive our organizations forward in that direction.
Okay.
Because if you look at the expectations of our patients,
Yeah.
and at the same time, if you look at the medical professionals who are involved in the service, always the connotation is that an individual would always be like to be seen physically by a medical examiner, because if you want medical material in today's context, you can actually, if you browse the internet, if you browse the media platforms, you can see what you saw in encyclopedias long years back, today is actually founded on the internet.
Right.
So it's just a matter of using a search engine and identifying or giving an indicative expectation as to what you need to search, and then the search engine will pop up the obvious question. But then
Absolutely.
the point is, it is actually not going to help when you are dealing with the health and safety of an individual. So basically, people, no matter, he might get an indicative inference as to what symptoms that he possesses,
Yes.
but he would always want to be guided by an independent expert, and he or she will need the attention of an independent expert, because the point is, what we may think or what we may find in a a search engine from what you call a internet or any electronic media platform may actually present a general picture, a general description of what the symptoms can relate to. But when you look at medical science, these symptoms can relate to multiple causes, multiple occurrences, multiple illnesses, or multiple diseases. So therefore, you cannot be really precise in getting a machine read. A machine reading cannot be taken precisely and accurately in this area.
Absolutely.
So
when even when we are small, our parents used to always take us to the doctors. But right now, when we feel something wrong with us, the first thing what we would do is we would always Google it.
Yes.
Right, and then we will try to understand if we are in the side of the patient, or else are we quite okay.
Yeah.
So these kind of trends are actually coming into the market, where the millennials are becoming parents right now.
Yeah.
So these guys are now more internet savvy, tech savvy guys. So the e-commerce trends are coming up. So what sort of trends you feel like which is coming into the healthcare industry?
Well, actually, we see a general reading of this nature.
Right.
But I think people who turn around in the hospital, who turn into the hospitals, actually they have this understanding, but they sometimes cross-check with the doctors about the accuracy of their findings.
Right.
But sometimes the findings that they make on the internet may be
So
relevant.
these inquiries
Sometimes
pop up.
These pop up, really, yeah. So they may actually be right, they may be wrong.
Right.
But then eventually, I think, no matter how technology is developed, technology is needed for application purposes, but for diagnostics and treatments, you use technology. But I think for diagnostics, while you're using the machine technology and the electronic devices, it's also important that you have a judgmental call by a person who is expert in the relevant discipline that we are talking of.
Couldn't agree more on that.
Yes.
And the other thing is, now we are always trying to benchmark countries which are quite developed, and we are always trying to hit the standards of them. So right now, are we trying to match those markets when it comes to the healthcare industry also, or do you think we are right now somewhere there, or we are going there?
No, basically, I think we are going there, but we have a long way to go, because the medical profession and the medical services providers are moving in that direction. Because now, if you look at in today's context, if you look at the involvement of medical consultants, they use quite a lot of technology. They use the scanners, they use the to start with the ultrasound scans. I'm just using an example. Ultrasound scans, the CT scans, the MRIs, etc., and the radiologists who are able to read it. But long years back, these factors were not present.
Absolutely.
It's just a matter of a physical diagnosis, and then at the same time applying a knowledge and a skill that a doctor has acquired over a period of time.
Right.
But today, the machines actually assist, and they have made the process easy, and for the judgmental call to be supplemented and corroborated with the machine findings.
Right.
So I think the combination of the machines together with that of an expert's opinion or expert's view or experts finding on the matter that you're dealing with provides an ideal combination for diagnosis as well as for treatment.
Right.
For treatment, now I think we are using a lot of technology. For diagnosis also we use a lot of technology, but I think the combination is very important, and nothing is inseparable from that of the other.
So this technological advancement which we are talking about, and the e-commerce transformation, did it started pre-COVID, or post-COVID? How do you look at these transformations?
This has actually, from, in different stages.
Mm-hmm.
I think COVID has actually changed the operating paradigm, the way that you do your business, the way that you actually, do a online consultation, the way that you actually, make a payment. All those are supplementary transactions
Right.
in the whole gamut of medical services and e-commerce that we are talking of.
Okay.
So I think before pre-COVID, even long before COVID started, the activities resembling the e-commerce transactions did begin in the country. So it's a gradual development of the process. But then, when hospitals were inaccessible to people, when there were transportation issues, and when there was fear among the people to visit hospitals, the electronic platforms provided an ideal opportunity for people to actually, in limited cases, in limited numbers, and in respect of limited areas, to interact with consultants through a e-commerce or electronic platform to discuss about their problems and issues with the consultants.
Right. So this digital transformation and this e-commerce platform, do you feel that people are getting the healthcare industry properly close to them with these technologies?
I think as I said at the beginning, the embracing technology is a key to transform the healthcare industry.
Absolutely.
And I think we are moving in that direction. But I must also tell you that technology is very expensive.
Right.
And all leading tertiary care hospitals, as well as the government hospitals, have invested very heavily in medical technology, the machine reading, the machine learnings, the machine involvement in the diagnosis and treatments is taking place gradually. But then if you look at, if you compare ourselves with that of a country like Singapore, that has the highest forms of healthcare, I think we have a long way to go to get over there, because there I think there is an integration between the machines and between between the treatments, the machines, the treatment, and the hospital administration. So basically there are three elements that we are talking of: the diagnostic element, then the treatment element, and the administration. So when you look at all three verticals in a developed country of that level, is far more integrated than what we see over here in a market of our size and our capacity.
Right.
So I think at some point in time we will get there.
Okay.
But it's a long journey, and it needs the commitment of resources, personnel, and then upskilling of people who are involved, the medics, the paramedics, the consultant community. Everybody needs to be updated on technology. So basically I think in today's context, if you see the doctors who are emerging, the consultants who are emerging, who have taken a lead role in certain specialties, they are highly conversant with where they're high tech savvy. So it's a generation change that I see, right? But then now this generation change we see at a certain level. But if you look 20-30 years ahead, the generation that's coming up now, they will be more tech savvy, and they will actually have the ability and the understanding to embrace technology more for fulfillment of their professional roles.
Amazing, amazing. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, we are connected with Mr. Deepthi Lokuarachchi, the Group Chief Executive Officer of Lanka Hospital. So we're talking about how the e-commerce industry is growing in the healthcare industry, and how the digitalization is taking place in the hospitals and in the medical fields as well. So since we spoke about the foreign markets as well when it comes to the healthcare industry, since we spoke about Singapore, in fact in our intro for the boardroom sessions, we are talking about Singapore, that at one stage they benchmarked us. Now we are talking about Singapore. So you might have seen other countries, how they have been adopting digitalization, adopting e-commerce. So what are these things you think that we can adopt? What are these advancements which other countries like Singapore are having right now you think it's much more better that we could also implement in our country, in our healthcare industry?
Yeah, obviously, as I said, the medical professionals, the nursing community, and people who are on medical services, doctors together with the other medical service professionals,
Right.
they, as I said, they need to actually get in over there in the three areas that we are talking
Right.
of, right? So countries like if you look at the affordability factor, because these medical equipment are very expensive, I must tell you. And then if you invest in technology, at some point somebody will have to pay for that.
Absolutely.
Right? Basically, nothing comes free.
Either it's the government or the patient.
Either the government or the patient needs to pay for it. So
Right.
therefore, I think there is a great, because as a nation, we have to, in the first instance, grow the income level of the people.
Absolutely.
You have to enhance the capacity levels of the people so that they can become, their buying power
Absolutely.
will become much greater. So
Yeah,
when the buying power is much greater, then obviously that actually paves the way for hospitals to invest more and more in technology, because the payback period for the investments that they make in technology, because in today's context, technology becomes outdated in no quick time. What we see today, maybe what we have invested 2 years back today may be obsolete, right? So basically, from time to time, because in as much as in this world, many activities have gained commercial importance, right? So therefore, what ideally has happened is, even the technical companies, the pharma companies, people who provide the medical equipment, they update their technology, periodically. So there is a hardware element, there is a software element. So there is a big cost. So anybody investing in technology will invariably look for a payback period. So now, when you actually look back for a payback period, you have to basically see how many numbers that can be handled, how many cases that can be handled, what's the cost that is associated, what are the annual maintenance costs, what are the costs, what's the cost of consumables that's being employed in the what you call, in the machine or in the activity that you're contemplating. So therefore, looking at all that, you have a payback. So the payback period determines the affordability for the investment, right? So eventually, it's the ability of the end consumer to pay for the eventual service that he is expecting. So therefore, two things that we have to get. These are basics, I must tell you. The critical mass. And as long as you widen the critical mass with the affordability factor, you can invest more and more in technology, because the technology companies, they are investing heavily into technology. Absolutely. Right? So basically, it's an endless thing. So these are leading multinationals, worldwide companies. So there is nothing to prevent them from selling those technologies to Sri Lanka. The only factor is the affordability factor. Absolutely. Right? So as long as we are able to afford, then obviously you can bring in technology. So training those people, they themselves will come and train our people over here, right? It's in their interest to do that. But eventually, I think you have to grow the income levels and broaden the base.
Very, very, very good explanation. So, and one thing that it was always something which we have to address, that is the channeling. Unlike those days, the digitalization has brought in the channeling and really narrowed that margin where people will have to call and do a lot of stuff going here and there just to get your doctor booked by a certain period of time. This e-channeling has been also a part of the digitalization. Either the name might change, yes, but the digitalization of this channeling of a doctor and coming to the doctor, and yes, scheduling is been like so convenient. How do you feel that this sort of technologies like scheduling with your doctors can be improved, and do you feel that other markets are having any other alternatives for these sort of scheduling with digitalization?
Yeah, there are tools. Actually, the hospital information systems, together with the telecom providers, have the necessary tools. Actually, it's whoever who invented this platform on creating an electronic platform to enable people to basically book into doctor's appointments.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the greatest initiatives taken by the person
Absolutely.
or the entity that invented the whole thing, because that has actually eased off the burden on the hospitals, as well as eased off the burden that becomes what you call a kind of a act that needs to be done by an individual who needs to consult a doctor. So therefore, I think
quite a disruptive innovation.
That's a highly disruptive innovation. So I think it's not only the channeling. I think it actually provides channeling innovation that was made in booking doctor's appointments through this platform has given us a thought process to look at other areas, like for instance, booking on the procedures, right? Because invariably once a doctor determines that a person has to go through a scan or a MRI or some procedure, you can even extend that platform to areas of that level. Because if, for instance, if there's a scarce, if on some day, at the moment all hospitals have excess capacity levels, but let's assume a hypothetical situation where the hospitals run short of capacity and people have expectations. So you actually create a virtual platform for people to book on procedures, for people or the consultants or their assistants to make theater bookings on an e-platform. So these can actually pave the way for more and more advancements into the future, but it all depends on the supply and the demand, right? Because the basic economic theories works here. So the supply, the demand, the availability all actually will contribute towards the exercise. So I think this is a step in the right direction that was taken. So as I would like to reiterate the fact that the scheduling of various services which are being offered in the hospital network could still do that. You can easily extend this to the pharmacy facilities, right? Pharmacy today, people will have to wait in queues, right, for drug dispensing, right? So rather than doing that, if you have a platform where you can do your online orders, right, you can basically get your medication without wasting much of time.
That's very true.
So those things can really be innovated in the market.
Great. So my final question towards you: lab reporting, these things have been a pain and a burden for people for the past couple of years. But now when you go for a test, maybe 2 or 24 hours later, the report might be in your mailbox, email. So digitally it has changed a lot now. The time, the cost, and the convenience. How well do you think people are embracing these sort of things?
I think people who are in and around Colombo, in the Western Province in particular, have embraced this, because I think leading hospitals today have adopted this platform of sharing lab reports online. And some hospitals also do have portals now. For instance, if you take Lanka hospitals are laboratory, so you can actually do a test, and it actually within the responsive times that we have agreed, it gets onto his platform or portal, and he can even view the history, maybe 2 years, 3 years. If he wants to get a history, you can. So to that extent, we have digitalized our service offerings, and I think some other hospitals are also doing the same thing. So therefore, I think it's where people become conversant, people become abreast of the practices that's available in the history, in the industry, and they embrace it. So I think going forward, it's easy for them, rather than collecting papers and misplacing the papers. If you know your passwords, if you know your usernames, then it's just a matter of browsing your web application and then accessing the hospital records. Lab reports.
Great. So thank you very much, Mr. Lokuarachchi, that this amazing discussion we held for the first time. And we would like to thank everyone who joined us for this amazing video series. So with another episode, let's meet up soon, everyone. Take care of you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you.